Well, good morning, guys. I'm going to start this little series here of 69 short videos going through the Bible. We're going to go through 69 little videos, and I'm just going to pick one good verse, maybe my favorite verse, from each book of the Bible, starting in Genesis and going all the way through Revelation. I'll put them on a couple each week or something like that. It's just to help us, I don't know. Sometimes we get too busy. Sometimes we may even find the Bible boring. It's hard to know where I'm going to read the Bible today and where am I going to start. And so just kind of want to do this for you guys. It can be short little clips. I don't know. I'll try to keep them 5 to 9 minutes, depending. Nothing over that. I lose my focus, much less yours at that point. A lot of these times I'll be working on my boat during this, because who wants to sit and watch somebody sit at a desk and read verses and preach to you, you know what I mean? So I'll be doing things. It's kind of biblical when you think about it. I mean, Jesus said, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. So got my boat here, got my fish and stuff. So we'll call this series Fishers of Men. How about that? That's kind of creative. Anyway, these may be a little more serious than some of my other videos. Really want you to kind of think about the verse that I read and take it to heart. So anyway, boy, it's sunny this morning. Woo! Better cover my head after a while. I'll get burned, if you know what I mean. So anyway, let's get started. Genesis. So the book of Genesis, I mean, there is a lot of stuff in the book of Genesis. Everything from creation all the way to just shy of Moses. Even if you know the Bible or don't know it very well, you probably know about Moses, because maybe even a Disney movie, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, Genesis covers a lot of territory, and there's some good stuff in there, lots of good verses, so it's hard just to pick out one. But the one that stood out to me, that I thought about, is the story of Abraham and Isaac. And Abraham and Sarah were old, and I mean old, like 100 years old. And God came to them and said, I'm going to bless you with a child. And Sarah actually laughed. She's like, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So she laughed, and that's why the name Isaac means laughter. That's why he was named Isaac after he was born. And anyway, Sarah does become pregnant, and they have a child, and the name is Isaac. So then later on, Isaac's about 12 years old. So this was a very special child to them, obviously. It's their one son, and he came about through this story that we're going to talk about. So Isaac was extremely important. And anyway, later on, so Isaac's about 12 years old, and God good English. God comes to Abraham, says, I want you to take your son, I want you to go up a mountain, and I want you to sacrifice him on an altar. And Abraham says yes, which that's mind-blowing in itself. So anyway, Abraham has faith, takes Isaac up the mountain, is ready to sacrifice him upon the altar, raises the knife. Just as he was about to come down, an angel of the Lord stops him. And God at this point is impressed with the faith of Abraham. And so this is what God says after this. And it's Genesis chapter 22, verse 12. So 22:12 is going to be our first verse here. And I found Isaac's Bible sitting out here in the car, so I'm going to use it. It may be more of a kid's translation, but it's good enough. 22:12 says, do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not harm him. Now I know that you would do anything for God. You have not held back from me your son, your only son. And that's amazing. Of course, that also foreshadows what's going to happen with God giving his one and only son, John 3:16. So, one verse per video. So anyway, this verse, what strikes me about it, and there's a lot in just this one verse, but what strikes me is the commitment of Abraham, the commitment to God. And I want to ask us all a question, including myself, is how committed are you to God? If you're a Christian, if you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a believer, how committed are you? We're committed to a lot of things. We're committed to sports teams. Maybe you play sports. You're pretty committed to that. You'll give up a lot in order for practices, games, tournaments, camps, things like that. Maybe you do theater or choir, things like that. You're committed to it. You're committed to practice a lot too. Athletes and musicians and all sorts of things will spend a lot of time practicing stuff. Maybe you're committed to your video games. I mean, seriously committed. Some of you play Fortnite, it's ridiculous. And other games as well. And so you're committed to it. One commitment is to like social media, Snapchat. So from what I understand, if you have a streak, and I've heard of people getting grounded from their phones, and so they give friends their phones so they can sign in so they don't ruin their streak. That's a pretty big commitment. There's not many people I would trust with my sign-in stuff, I'll tell you that much right now. But anyway, so that's a commitment. We all have commitments that we stick to, that we give up and sacrifice things for. My question is, are you committed to God? Do you have the commitment of Abraham to be willing to give up his son, his only son, to have faith in God? I have one son. His name is Isaac. Irony. His name's Isaac because we had trouble having kids. Didn't look like we were going to be able to have kids, and then Isaac came along. So that's why his name is Isaac. But am I committed enough to the point where I would give up my son? And I don't know. That would be a huge commitment, huge step of faith. But anyway, I need to ask you, what's your commitment? What's your commitment? And I don't mean just commitment to church, to youth group, to things like that. Although that's a commitment probably you need to make to get some bits of Bible and some teaching and time with Christian friends. But what's your commitment? I mean, are you reading your Bible? Are you praying? And maybe not even that, because a lot of times we say, you got to read your Bible, got to pray. You know, that gets a little old, but are you thinking about God? Do you care about God? When you're making decisions in your life, do you even consider what God may want? And I think if we evaluate ourselves, maybe we might be a little disappointed or shocked in how we're not committed to God, how we're committed to everything else in the world, but God comes last. And so this week, from this video, I just want to challenge you to consider, what is your commitment to God? What are you willing to give up? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe you're like, you know, I go to youth group, I go to church Sunday morning, that's good enough. Maybe you're like, go to youth group once a month, good enough. Be committed to God. Spend time praying, spend time in your, spend time thinking about God. With something you're doing, maybe fishing, you know, whatever a hobby may be. Just think about God and what God has done in your life. Asking God to, again, you can pray without closing your eyes. Praying is just talking to God. And a lot of times I'm out fishing or even driving down the road, I'm thinking about God. And so this week, starting with myself, I say that a lot, but I want to start with myself. Let's consider our commitment to God. And again, Genesis 22:12. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not harm him. Now I know that you would do anything for God. You have not held back from me your son, your only son. Have a great day, guys.